Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John and I'm back with the third installment on my favorite vacation of all time, the trip to Iloilo in 2006. Welcome to my channel, Musings of a Marine. Where we last left off, we were finishing up our trip to Boracay, and now we had to make the long bus ride home. And so sure enough, everybody packed their stuff, and it was just so blazing hot outside that day. Unfortunately, they had a tarp for us to stand underneath on the beach until our pump boat showed up. And then we boarded that, of course, and off we went on our way to Catatlan, and so we could take the bus back to Iloilo. And my wife was so happy we were leaving. I don't think I had a good time. It's just so hot, and it was the sleeping arrangements, like I said, were out of whack. So we get to the bus station, and we're trying to stand underneath this awning at a convenience store because it's so hot outside. And next thing I know, Baba comes up with some ice cold Cokes for everybody to drink. And eventually we got on the bus and off we went. Now, if you're familiar with the island of Panay, there are some mountainous areas. And on the trip back, of course, we had to drive through them. And the bus had a little bit of a problem. The transmission of it didn't want to work very well, and I think got a little burnt out from the going up the mountains and everything like that. Well, fortunately, on all these Cirrus buses, not only do you have a driver, but you have a ride-along mechanic too. And after maybe about a half-hour delay, he was able to get the transmission on the bus working again, and we were able to continue our trip. On the way home, it only took about 5.5 hours instead of the 6.5 that it took to get there, because we didn't stop. It was just a straight drive back to Haro and Iloilo. So I did notice one interesting thing on the way home. I was sitting in the back of the bus with Pito, and I looked around the bus, seeing how I could see everybody, and I think I was the only one awake at one point on the bus trip. I didn't take a nap. I was tired too, like everybody else, but I didn't take a nap because I didn't want to miss anything. The scenery, anything that might happen along the way. And a friend, Boni Sevillano, had given me a map of the island, and so I could chart our progress there and on the way home and know exactly where we were and how close we were getting. So I stayed awake for the whole thing and probably didn't take a nap until we got back. So that's how the trip to Boracay went. It was fun. I'm glad I did it. If I ever go there again, it's sure going to be a lot different than this trip. That's for sure. Now, is the vacation pretty much done? Oh, heck no. Remember, we're seeing our house for the first time, and as is tradition with Filipinos, we had to have a house blessing party. So we were preparing for that, and there was one little thing that we were concerned about. Di had sent a bunch of food that we were going to use for cooking, particularly spaghetti noodles and sauce that we were going to use for the party. And we sent it off earlier in a balikbayan box, and it had not yet arrived yet. So I think maybe 2 or 3 days before the house blessing party was set to go, the 2 boxes finally arrived, and we had the food items that we had sent, so we could make some nice spaghetti and everything else. So we have the party, and we invite a bunch of people over, and there's people there. Of course, most of them, I don't have a clue who they are. And there was this one guy, and I'm outside, and I see him peeing on the wall of our property. And I scolded him for it. And I was like, hey, man, we got a perfectly good working bathroom in the house. Why don't you do that? Use it instead of exposing yourself potentially to people in the neighborhood. And I don't think he necessarily liked that, but I'll tell you what, I think he made some comments about it later. But, hey, this is my house and Diane's house, and there's certain conduct that we're going to expect from visitors. And I had every right to say my piece to him. And maybe he didn't like it. Maybe he didn't like an American telling him what to do. But guess what? That was our property and our house. And so I set him straight on that. I didn't see him do that afterward. And it was a nice party. The beer flowed. The food was great. A young father, Alex, I don't know what parish he was affiliated with, but he came over and blessed the house. And we had a good time and played some basketball outside. And it was just an awesome time. And during this time we were over there, I want to mention, too, that there was a teleseries on TV called Gulong ng Palad that was on. And I took a liking to watching that show with Christine Hermosa and TJ Trinidad, and a young, rather pretty Hazel Ann Mendoza was in that show, too. And so I would watch that in the evenings as well. And that it was during that time that I taught Pito and Baba how to play the game of horse, as I mentioned earlier. But one thing that happened on the way back from Boracay was that I got to mention is our friend Boney left his camera on the bus. And we were so afraid that he had lost it. But he did call the Cirrus company, and sure enough, they had possession of his camera at the bus terminal. So fortunately, we were able to go back there and retrieve his camera. And one of the funny things that happened on this trip was I saw this thing called an ATM near the bus station. And of course, here in the United States, we're thinking ATM, oh, an automatic teller machine. Well, no, that's not what it was. it was an automatic tubing machine. And for those of you who don't know what tubing is, that means water. And so it was a water dispensary. So I kind of got a kick out of that. All these little things, like I had mentioned, the Itaas Mo sign, which means raise your glass. And I thought the literal translation meant up yours, things like that. So these are the funny things that happened. And, you see these things when you're overseas, when you're in a foreign country, and the little quirks like that, it just makes you to laugh, and you think about these times, and it's good memories. And Annette did indeed have her graduation. The day before, they had some sort of event happen, and we didn't go to it. It was so hot out. Pito did, and he came home, and he practically with heat stroke, and he wasn't feeling good. I know Baba got sick one day from all the heat too. Maybe it was the day we were outside playing basketball or whatever. But you live in the Philippines, and you're talking the end of March. I don't care who you are. Working out in that heat can get to you, whether you're from there or not. So it was pretty hot in the 90s, always humid, and it's a good thing that we had a bedroom with air conditioning in it to sleep in. I'll tell you that. Heck, on the next trip we went over there when Papa died It was so hot out that the first week I couldn't even have coffee in the morning. So that lets you know the heat that you're dealing with. But it was just a great time. Everything from our new house, we got our new furniture in. So we had nice chairs and couch and coffee table and all of that. And it just worked out good. And we got all of that before the party, too. Of course, now we had our own refrigerator. So a lot of things just really, really fell into place. I couldn't have been more happier about how everything turned out, other than the sleeping arrangements in Boracay, obviously. And then the last day we were there was, I think, Annette's graduation. We didn't go to it. So that was one of the reasons we were going to go over there, and we didn't even bother to go. I don't know why, maybe because of the heat, or we were getting ready to leave the next day. But we had a nice little party for her at the Metropolis Resort there, which Di and her family kept calling the Metro Police. First time they told me about this place, I thought it was a police station. And it turned out to be this little resort there. They had a swimming pool, a gymnasium, and it was a new subdivision that they were building there. And Di's cousin was kind of in charge of opening up the pool and the gym and all of that. So he had it open for us, and we got to enjoy a night of swimming, and enjoyed our last night there in Iloilo. And after we were all done with that, we got home in time so I could catch another episode of Gulong ng Palad. So didn't want to miss out on that, right? So the next day was really the sad day. We had to leave. And so we get to the airport and, say goodbye to everybody. And I give Pito and Baba and Annette a hug. And from what I heard on the way home, Baba and Annette were crying. And why not? We only get to see each other once every 4 years. And it just was so hard, particularly this time, to say goodbye. And so we're still in the old airport. And Di and I, we get our luggage checked in and we get our boarding passes and whatnot. And we're standing there and we can hardly speak. I mean, it was like that. And Di says to me, I don't know why I'm so emotional. I've never been like this before when I went home. And I said, it's because of the kids. Now we're so close with them. Di and I, we don't have any kids. And so, Michael's kind of older, but Annette, Tito, and Baba, still kids. And like I said, the Mills family mistake Pito and Baba as our sons. And so it was really the toughest thing. And every time that I go over there, it is so hard to say goodbye because you're not going to see these people, unfortunately, for another 4 to 5 years. And, to the kids especially. And when we went over this last trip, Pito and that, they were in England by that time, but still saying goodbye to Baba. It doesn't matter that he's in his 30s now. He just accompanies Di and I pretty much everywhere on most of the trips we have over there. And saying goodbye to him is very, very tough. And, into the family in general. And, the cycle is starting to happen all over again. Now that we've got, a great niece and great nephews over there who can enjoy our company and do things with us. So that's how this trip ended. And it was very, very sad. And to make matters worse, when we got to Michigan, my body just went into culture shock because I went from 90-degree, hot and humid weather to cold, damp, 30-degree Fahrenheit weather in Michigan. And the first week back, I came down with a bad cold almost instantly. The trip on the way home was interesting too. Like I said, we had luggage issues on the way there. Well, on the way back, everything was fine until we got to Chicago. And we found out our flight was going to be delayed a few hours. Well, a pilot overheard us talking about it, and he told Diane and I, hey, there's another flight leaving for Chicago in about a half hour. See if you can get on that one. So we're like, okay. So we looked into it, and sure enough, they had room on the plane. So Diane and I were able to fly back even before we thought we were going to get home. And my parents were picking us up at the airport, and they got all discombobulated about the whole thing. But they made a pass by the airport and saw us standing there, and sure enough, we got picked up without them having to wait too long for us because they knew our flight had been delayed, and they got us home. Unfortunately, our luggage didn't go with us. It got put on the flight that was delayed and came later on. And very, very thankful to the airlines. I think United was the sponsoring airline on that flight, and ultimately they delivered our luggage to our doorstep the next day. So shout out to them and Metro Airport in Detroit for doing that. So I tell you, that was one trip we didn't have to handle our luggage very often, and that's a good thing. So anyways, I'm going to leave it at there, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning into my channel. God bless y'all. And I hope you enjoyed my story. And take care, and we'll see you with some more content next time.